Welcome to Sleep Verse, where only one goal is restful, deep sleep, and the stories and sounds are gentle. Take a seat, settle in, and allow the quiet story to transport you away from the day's noise. Each story on this page is a gentle journey meant to help you relax, unwind, and fall asleep peacefully. Inhale deeply, relax, and greet the evening. It's time to relax. Settle in now and let the night gather around you like a heavy, comforting cloak. Allow your breath to deepen, to become slow and wonderfully quiet. Tonight, we follow a path far away from the noise of the day, a path that winds through the ancient, drowsy hills. We're going to meet the world's strongest hero, but in a moment you rarely hear about. The quiet moment when the labors are done, the shouting has faded, and all that remains is the profound, beautiful need for rest. Imagine the deep blue of the sky just after sunset, when the air turns cool and soft, carrying the faintest scent of moss and ancient stone. This is the hour when our hero, Hercules, begins his slow, quiet journey, not rushing toward a task, but simply drifting toward a place of perfect stillness. His shoulders, which once held up the heavens, now carry only the weight of a pleasant, persistent sleepiness. His great strength is not needed here. All that is required is surrender. The path beneath his feet is soft earth, cushioned by silence. The sounds you hear are not alarming. They're the soft whispers of the sleeping world, the gentle hush of the breeze through the grasses, the distant, hypnotic tinkle of running water. These are the sounds that lull the restless mind, inviting it to slow down, to soften, to let go. We will follow Hercules as he moves through this landscape of quiet wisdom, learning the most valuable lesson of all, that even the mightiest hearts must eventually rest. There is no urgency, no expectation, just the peaceful rhythm of one foot in front of the other, moving toward the deepest, most necessary kind of sleep. Close your eyes now and feel the stillness of this quiet, drowsy land welcome you home. The story has begun. On a quiet evening, long after the great deeds were done, a figure moved slowly across the land. This was Hercules, but not the booming, triumphant hero of the noisy stories. This was Hercules the whisper, Hercules the shadow, Hercules the wonderfully, absolutely tired. He had completed his labors, faced the fearsome beasts, and shouldered the great burdens of the world. Now, his only labor was one of rest. His muscles, which had lifted mountains, felt heavy, not with strain, but with a profound, deep sleepiness that seemed to pull him gently down toward the earth. He wasn't rushing. He was simply drifting toward a place of quiet rest. The sun had long since dipped below the horizon, taking all the harsh light and sharp edges with it. In its place came the soft, washed-out tones of the late twilight. Everything was painted in gentle blues and deep purples, fading into a comforting, velvety black. It was the color of a heavy, closed eyelid. Hercules walked along a path that was less of a road and more of suggestion. It wound through hills that rose and fell like a long, slow breath. The ground beneath his sturdy sandals was soft earth, cushioned by a scatter of dried pine needles. Each step was deliberately slow, a quiet exchange between his foot and the patient ground. Talp is a talp, is a peaceful, hypnotic rhythm. He had entered a place that was known by those who knew of such quiet places as the Valley of Slow Sighs. It was not a valley of sadness, but of deep exhalations. Here, the wind did not gust or rush. It simply drifted by, carrying with it the scent of cool stone and late-blooming jasmine. Hercules adjusted the soft, heavy hide draped over his shoulder. Even this legendary garment felt like a familiar, warm blanket now, providing a gentle weight rather than a symbol of strength. He ran a tired hand across the texture, finding comfort in the simple reality of the material. It felt solid, warm, and real, a good thing to have around him when the world began to feel blurry with fatigue. He remembered the noise of the daylight hours, the clanging of metal, the cheering of crowds, the roar of the tasks. That noise felt very, very far away now, a distant memory that could not touch the peaceful silence of this valley. The silence here was not empty. It was full of soft, reassuring sounds. First, there was the low, continuous shush of the wind moving through the tall grasses. It sounded exactly like the quiet breathing of a very large, sleeping creature. It was the sound of the world being put to bed. Then, the gentle tinkle of water. Somewhere nearby, a small stream was making its quiet way over smooth, ancient stones. It was a sound that told of permanence and flow, a quiet, repetitive melody that coaxed the mind to slow down and simply be. Hercules imagined the water flowing, not rushing, just easily tracing its path, never hurrying, simply arriving. He stopped for a moment, letting the soft, cool air settle around him. His shoulders relaxed, pulling down the weight of the day, allowing it to settle onto the ground around his feet. He looked up, not at the moon, which was still hidden, but at the deep blue velvet of the night sky. A few early stars were just beginning to prick the darkness. They were small, distant lights, each a quiet promise of vastness and calm. They were not demanding attention. They were simply there, shimmering in their silent way. Observing them made Hercules feel wonderfully small, and being small in a large, calm universe meant there was no need to carry all the noise. There was only a need to rest. Continuing his slow journey, Hercules approached a large, smooth stone that sat right beside the path. It was an old stone, rounded by centuries of wind and weather. Its surface felt cool and grounding. He did not sit on it, but leaned against it, allowing the solid, cool mass to support his great, sleepy frame. He closed his eyes, just for a long moment. When the eyes are closed, the world does not disappear. It just changes. The sounds become clearer. The scent of the dry earth and the sweet jasmine became sharper. The rhythmic shushing of the grass and the soft tinkle of the water took on a beautiful clarity. The world was telling a quiet, comfortable story, and he was simply listening to the gentle plot unfold. He remembered a quiet piece of wisdom he had once been told, though he could not recall who had spoken it or where he had heard it. The voice had been a gentle murmur, saying, "The quietest strength is the ability to do nothing when nothing needs to be done." He held that thought in his mind. To do nothing. He let the concept settle, like dust on a quiet shelf. It was a marvelous feeling, this permission to be still. He had spent his life being busy, being necessary, being the one who must act. Now, in the soft embrace of the night, he was just Hercules, the one who needed a nap. He opened his eyes again, feeling the coolness of the stones seep into his back. The path ahead was illuminated by the palest, softest light, perhaps the promise of the rising moon, or just the gentle luminescence that the land sometimes gives off when it is truly asleep. He walked on, following the silent curve of the path, and soon saw a single, warm point of light ahead. It was not a blazing fire, but a low, red ember glow, a soft heart beating quietly in the darkness. As he drew nearer, the light revealed a small, simple camp. It was a low tent, just canvas and rope, and a tiny, carefully tended fire pit. Beside the fire sat the only other presence in this quiet place, a gentle old shepherd, wrapped in thick wool, his head bowed slightly as he gazed into the quiet embers. This shepherd was the second character in the tale, the quiet keeper of the night. He sat with a stillness that spoke of many long, calm nights spent under the same quiet sky. He wasn't watching the flocks. He was simply watching the gentle collapse of the wood into ash, a process as slow and peaceful as the turning of the season. Hercules approached the fire slowly, respectfully. He did not announce his presence with a booming voice or a sudden step, but with the quiet sound of his sandals sinking into the soft earth. The shepherd looked up, but there was no surprise in his eyes, only a deep, abiding calm. The hero stood for a moment, simply warming his hands near the low, comforting heat. The fire smelled of dry olive wood, a clean, woody scent that felt like home and quiet work. The heat was not scorching, but a gentle kiss on his skin. The shepherd gave a small, warm nod, his face peaceful in the low light. Without a word, he reached for a simple, wooden mug and dipped it into a clay jug beside him. He offered the mug to Hercules. Hercules took the mug. The wood was smooth and warm in his tired hands. Inside was clear, cool water from stream, tasting of stone and freshness. He drank slowly, savoring the simple, deep quenching of his thirst. It was the purest water he had ever tasted, perhaps because it was offered with pure stillness. The silence between the two men was not awkward. It was a soft blanket. It was a silence of understanding, a recognition of two souls simply existing in the same quiet moment under the vast, sleeping sky. There was no need for names or stories. The only thing that mattered was the peaceful rhythm of the night. Hercules settled himself down slowly, not right beside the shepherd, but a small distance away, on a patch of soft, smooth grass. He leaned back on his elbow, watching the quiet dance of the flame. The fire had no drama. It made no crackling noises, only a soft, barely audible hiss as the wood surrendered to the heat. Each tiny movement of the flame was a slow, deliberate curve, like a dancer moving in deep, slow motion, red, then orange, then black, a repeating pattern of quiet transformation. The shepherd spoke, his voice the softest sound in the entire valley, almost a part of the wind. The night is the true home of the world. Young one, the shepherd murmured, his gaze fixed on the embers. The day is full of tasks and noise. But the night asks for nothing. It just holds us. Hercules did not reply. He didn't need to. He simply absorbed the words, allowing them to drift into the sleepy corners of his mind. The night asked for nothing. What a beautiful concept. A time where no one needed him to lift, or fight, or save, or rush. He was simply being held. The shepherd continued, his tone a steady, calming drone. The flocks are resting. They know the wisdom of the earth. When the light goes, the eyes close. When the sounds fade, the body settles. It is the simple, gentle contract of being alive. As Hercules lay there, listening to the soft, rhythmic sound of this quiet voice, a profound sense of ease began to settle over him. His mighty body which had known so much action, now craved only inertia. His powerful hands, which had grasped weapons and broken chains, now lay relaxed on the soft earth, their grip completely surrendered. The small stream seemed to pick up the shepherd's rhythm. Flow, rest, flow, rest. The air grew cooler, but the core of the small fire kept a gentle, persistent warmth in the small circle of the camp. The scent of olive wood smoke mixed with the earthy smell of the dew that was just beginning to settle on the grass. Hercules watched the shepherd slowly reach out and gently adjust a small log in the fire pit, making the quietest sound possible, a tiny shift of wood against stone. This deliberate slowness was contagious. It was a lesson in unhurried action. He turned his head slightly, resting his cheek against the cool, firm grass. He could feel the small, intricate details of the earth beneath him, the tiny bumps of the soil, the flattened blades of grass, the unseen network of roots that held the world together even in its sleep. He imagined the earth itself as a massive, quiet sleeper, breathing its slow, deep breath, and he, Hercules, was simply a small, very tired creature nestled into the warmth of its flank. The sheer size of the world made his problems shrink down to nothing. The things he had worried about, the next task, the next journey, had all dissolved into the deep blue light of the night. He watched the shepherd's silhouette against the low firelight. The old man was a statue of patience, a symbol of quiet endurance. The shepherd had no need for grand adventures. His life was an endless loop of sunrise, gentle walking, and this quiet, meditative night. And in his simplicity, he possessed a peace that the great hero had never truly known. Peace is not something you conquer. A quiet thought drifted through Hercules' mind. It is something you allow. He began to focus only on the simple, sensory inputs of the moment, the feeling of his eyelids growing heavier, the gentle pull of gravity, reminding him that he was securely anchored to the earth, the soft, rhythmic shush of the wind in the pine branches, the faint, lovely scent of wood smoke and sleeping earth. This was the perfect landscape for rest. A soft, dim light, a steady, gentle sound, a deep, comfortable stillness. Everything was predictable. Everything was safe. Everything was slowing down. The shepherd, perhaps sensing the hero's final descent into sleepiness, slowly rose. He moved with the quiet grace of someone whose body knew the landscape of the night by heart. He did not speak, but simply took a heavy, thick woolen blanket from his small pack and draped it gently over the hero's large frame. The wool was soft, weighty, and carried the warm, familiar scent of wood smoke and 1,000 quiet nights. The gentle pressure of the blanket was the final, soft encouragement his body needed to let go. Hercules did not open his eyes fully. He simply felt the comfort settle over him. It was an act of pure, quiet kindness, offered without expectation or word. It was the purest form of human connection in the dark. One soul caring for another's need for deep rest. He shifted one last time, pulling the blanket slightly closer to his chin. His famous strength, the one that had defined his waking life, was now completely, blissfully surrendered. He was just a shape beneath a soft blanket, resting on the sleeping earth. The embers of the fire continued their slow, quiet work, turning red and fading to black. Red and fading to black. It was the last, gentle sight for his heavy eyes. The stars above shimmered, now seeming closer, brighter, and infinitely calming. They were his final lullaby, a million points of light telling a silent tale of peace and distance. In the deepest comfort of a night, surrounded by the quiet breathing of the sleeping world, Hercules, the hero who lifted the world, finally found the perfect place to lay down his weary soul. The journey was over. The need was met. The gentle warmth of the earth held him softly, and he drifted down into the deepest, calmest, most necessary sleep he had ever known. Rest now. The world is quiet, and you are safe. The flame is now just a low, persistent ember, glowing with a steady, quiet reassurance. The tiny sound of the wood settling into ash is the last noise left in the world, a soft whisper of finality and peace. Hercules is settled, completely motionless, utterly safe beneath the thick, warm blanket. His journey for the perfect rest has come to its gentle end. The long roads are done. The great weight has been set down, and his mind, finally empty of effort and thought, is wrapped in a soothing, dreamless silence. Look up one last time at the sky above the quiet valley. The stars are bright now, shining down not with a flash, but with a deep, steady glow that feels as permanent and calm as the shepherd's patience. They are guarding the darkness, holding the night in perfect balance. Feel the heavy, restful blanket on your own body, a gentle pressure that keeps you anchored, safe and warm. Imagine the cool, soft earth beneath you, providing unwavering support. You are held by the night, just as Hercules is. There is nothing left to do now, no further steps to take, no challenges to face, no thoughts to organize. Everything is still, everything is quiet. The soft, rhythmic sound of your own breathing is the only sound that matters now. Allow the deep peace that settled over the great hero to settle into your own heart. All the rush and noise of your day has faded into the soft, blue distance, unable to touch this quiet, protected space. You are here, you are comfortable, and you are ready. The time for rest is now. Drift down into the easy, comforting dark. Sleep well, sleep deep, and know that the strong, quiet silence of the earth is holding you gently until the morning. Good night.